Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janey Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi and welcome to the podcast. How you doing? I hope you're well. It's new moon, isn't it? It's full moon, isn't it? Imbolc. I haven't heard that word for ages. I must have known the word, but I've kind of come across it again. Is that how you even say it? The beginnings of spring. It's that midpoint, isn't it? And and it really feels like it might start to become spring-like. I really hope so. We desperately need a break. I'm really excited because my second TEDx talk has finally been released. So that's exciting. At the moment, very few views because it's literally just gone live on YouTube. So I would beg you, please, would you go and have a look and give it a little thumbs up and drop a nice comment below it if you would be willing, if you liked it. It's called Could Curiosity Be Your Superpower? And just to share a little bit about what's in the TED Talk. I mean, it's very short, so I hope you'll watch it. But effectively, what I was really trying to get across in that talk is that, you know, when we're trying to make behaviour change, when we're trying to improve ourselves in inverted commas, or when we're trying to quit an addiction, there's always that thing we're striving for, that thing we're going after. You know, I want to stop drinking, or I want to start a new routine, or I want to change my diet, or whatever it might be. But it's always just the first step, because as soon as we really start to dig deep into whatever it is we really want, most of us reach a point where we realise that there will be something underlying it that's actually getting in the way. that really, it never is only about stopping drinking or only about, you know, that piece of behaviour change. It's almost always that layer of self-love and self-acceptance, which you know, many of us have got just huge blocks in the way of that, just a whole kind of catalogue of limiting beliefs. And, you know, one of the things I talk about a lot in the work that I do in the Sober Club and with my coaching clients is this concept of being able to love ourselves. And I know it all gets very woo-woo, but you can call it what you like, call it self-acceptance, self-esteem if you want. But the reality is, it's very difficult just to snap our fingers and decide, okay, I'm going to love myself then. That'll work. Well, it actually doesn't, because most of us have got a very strong, self-sabotage, a very strong inner critic voice that says, don't be so goddamn ridiculous. Who are you to think you love yourself? Have you taken a look in the mirror lately? Have you looked at your actions? Have you thought about the stuff you did when you were drinking? Have you remembered how many people you've upset? You know, and on and on. And that inner critic voice is so strong. Most of us are so much kinder to everyone else than we are to ourselves, right? So one thing I really believe is true is that it's not possible to simply say, I love myself, but it is possible to just become curious about how that could come about for us, about, you know, how we might to start to open up to that possibility of behaviour change, of caring about ourselves, or you know, and a whole bunch of other stuff. It really isn't only the self-love piece. So I talk in the TEDx talk about self-care, you know, and how being kind to yourself starts with becoming curious as to how we can overcome some of those blocks and some of those limiting beliefs. And of course, there's a play on words, because the curiosity piece fits in very nicely with the rise of the sober curious, you know, wondering, well, how might life be without ditching the booze? And what's so wonderful about that phrase is that we can become curious about it without the judgment. You know, we haven't necessarily committed forever, but we can just become curious. We can kind of dip our toes into the water of what it might feel like to be free from the alcohol trap, so that we can focus totally on what we're gaining rather than what we're giving up. And I'm sure if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you'll know that should be kind of written across my forehead, you know, or written through me like a stick of rock. You know, that is what I want people to focus on. Positive sobriety, positive self-care, that focus on how can we live our best lives? How can we live a life? How can we go after a life that we don't want to escape from and we don't want to self-harm? And of course, none of that is helped by the fact that society would like us to do the opposite. Literally, society would like us to carry on drinking because it's what everyone does. And let's face it, keeps us small, doesn't it? Somebody, I forget who it was, I think it was Dr. Tess Lawrie, wrote a really good piece about how alcohol is one of the many ways in which we're kept smaller than we need to be, and she just picked out a few words that are used. When people think about just the words when people are under the influence, words like wrecked, jarred, horrible words, really horrible words, and that's how we keep ourselves, and often it's through habit and because that's what everyone else does. And then suddenly we're stuck down the alcohol trap. So anyways, curiosity really works. It really works well. We can have real breakthroughs if we can become curious about how it might feel when we can do something differently, about how it might feel when we're empowered. What might be the impact of being kind to ourselves? How can we actually step out of that alcohol trap and it feel good? So that's what's in the talk, basically. I talk a little bit about our reticular activating system as well, the RAS. When we become aware of something, we see more of it. And our unconscious mind will find loads of ways to bring us more of it so that we can experience more of what we're curious about. So that can be a really good thing when we actually make that decision. Do you know what? I'm just going to be curious about this. I don't have the answer right now. In fact, it might even feel impossible, but it's not impossible if we can simply bring in the curiosity and from that place, focus on the positive, and it works. So anyways, I really hope you enjoy the TEDx talk. There was one lovely comment, actually. It makes a real difference when you put a comment on there. So thank you in advance if you're willing to. And someone said on there, sometimes when we're not looking for something in particular, curiously, we inadvertently discover the very thing we weren't trying to find. I came across this presentation by what appeared to be accident when I opened a link in the sidebar that posed the question, could curiosity be your superpower? So I was curious as to what that question was about. And of course, there's no such thing as a coincidence, or it was meant to be, or even the universe is trying to tell me something. Well, in walked the elephant, the rider, along the path less travelled to an unknown destination. How exciting. Thank you, Janey. Isn't that a lovely comment? So anyways, I'd really appreciate it. You just have to go to thesoberclub.com and click on the blog post there, or you can go to YouTube and just type Janey Lee Grace TEDx Talk. Obviously, my first TEDx Talk will come up, Sobriety Rocks, Who Knew? If you haven't watched that yet, please have a watch of that too. And the new one is called Could Curiosity Be Your Superpower? And as I say, if you give it a little thumbs up or a like for me, I'd really appreciate it because it makes a difference. And, of course we want to spread these messages, right? They're all about positivity. So, as you know, TEDx Talks are a labour of love. It's not something you're paid for. In fact, it costs, getting there and everything else. And it's quite a thing doing a TEDx talk. I mean, I've been a speaker for years, but I still find it really nerve-wracking. But nevertheless, it has amazing reach and amazing possibilities of sharing what you do with a lot more people and just different ways of wrapping up ideas. So anyways, would really appreciate it if you'd give that a watch and share it and all of that stuff. And talking curiosity, here's something I've been curious about for absolutely ages, and that is this word adaptogens, right? So over the last few weeks on the podcast, we've been doing a fair bit around nutrition and, how we can support ourselves nutritionally, how we can ditch the sugar. We spoke about the Reset program with Dominic Ludwig. And I've known about adaptogens. In fact, I think we did interview someone around sustainable plants and there was some talk of adaptogens there. But I've still never quite understood how they can kind of fit in to our diet. And the whole thing around functional drinks and functional foods as well. I kind of always feel like I need a little bit more information on that, particularly as so many of us, when we stop drinking, we become much more open to what else we can have that might actually be good for us, right? That we would enjoy, but that's also good for us. I mean, when I was drinking, I wouldn't even buy a nice tea because it felt like, ooh, a pucker tea bag. Oh my God, £4 for a box of tea bags. I don't think so. And I mean, I didn't mind spending the money on the booze, right? But once we stop drinking, it's like everything opens up and we can go, oh, wow, maybe I can think about an adaptogenic blend of coffee or whatever. And we become much more interested in lovely things, nice things that might also be really good for us nutritionally and to soothe us and to support our well-being and on and on. So anyways, to that end, I came across London Nootropics, who have this fantastic range of really high quality adaptogenic coffee blends is what they are. And I could see that. I mean, they look really nice and lovely little kind of sachets, and they've got different angles to them. So there's one for mental clarity, one for focus. My son has been using the one which is really good for before you go to the gym. So anyways, I thought, let's chat to the main man. Let's actually find out what they're really about. So you might have seen London Nootropics when they did Dragon's Den some time ago. So they're quite well known, and they're in stores, and they're available online. So I thought let's chat to the founder. So here we go, London Nootropics. So we are talking about adaptogenic coffee. I hope I've said it right. Really pleased to be chatting to Zain Peer, who is the co-founder of London Nootropics. And this came about because I tried this fantastic blend. Here's me, a kind of coffee lover, and whenever anyone has ever tried to get me to have anything that's a bit similar but not actually coffee, I'm always, no, I don't think so. But these are just great. Zain, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Janey.
It's just such an interesting brand. So let's go kind of right back in time. You're the co-founder of this brand, and you've been you developed your adaptogenic coffee blends over a couple of years. And I know that your vision is to make adaptogens easily accessible. So there will be people thinking, what the hell even is that? So can we start there? What is an adaptogen?
Yeah, sure. So an adaptogen's a natural substance that helps us balance stresses in our mind and body, right? So you have medicinal mushrooms, and they help with homeostasis in the body. You have other root adaptogens like ashwagandha, which is incredible. It works on our adrenals, which balances our hormones. So there's good synergies with coffee and adaptogens, which is why we put them together.
Yeah.
So for example, when we have coffee, it can increase our cortisol, our stress hormone, especially if we're sensitive to caffeine or we drink a lot. And then some people feel on edge. They're like, only want to have a decaf.
Yeah, you get that kind of jittery feeling if you've had too much sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, some people, they'll have one coffee and they'll get a little bit of anxiety and jitters. And then with ashwagandha, so it works on our adrenals, helps to balance our hormones. It can balance our cortisol, our stress hormone, so we can enjoy coffee and still be calm and relaxed, so like calming energy. So we think that adaptogens can help us consume caffeine mindfully.
Okay. I get it. Okay. So and what is a nootropic then? What does that word mean?
Sure. So a nootropic is a substance that helps with cognitive function. And you can get synthetic nootropics, such as like ADHD medication, to help you focus, help the mind. And also natural nootropics like lion's mane mushroom, which is known as the brain mushroom. One of the most popular nootropic in the world is caffeine. So
I see. That's considered a new. Is it really? Wow, didn't know that.
Yeah. Caffeine's a nootropic, It works by blocking our adenosine receptors, which make us drowsy, helping us feel more mentally aware, mentally awake and alert.
Right. Would something like CBD oil be classed as a nootropic then?
So I think it's more, in my opinion, it's more of an adaptogen. I mean, you can
Okay.
get
So what's the main difference
nootropics
then between an adaptogen and a nootropic then? Because you mentioned the lion's mane mushroom is a nootropic, but you also
and
mentioned that
yeah, yeah.
medicinal mushrooms are adaptogens.
So they cross over. So they
Okay.
cross over. So you can get adaptogens that are nootropics like lion's mane and nootropics that are adaptogens like
Hmm.
lion's mane.
But
Um,
what is the main difference, if there is a difference
so
then?
in terms of definition, adaptogens are natural and they work by balancing stresses in mind and body. That's kind of their
Got it.
um, definition, right? Now, in terms of like the adaptogenic effects of some of the nootropics like lion's mane, it's like if we're feeling distracted, brain fog, we can't focus. So we're on one spectrum. Lion's mane can help bring us focus and mental clarity. So help bring that balance into our day.
Mm.
So that's the kind of adaptogenic property that it's got. So yeah, and then where were we going
Yeah, no,
with
I
the
was just saying, what's the main difference between the
oh
two?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
So if you
cool.
were, I mean, a lot of us think of something like ashwagandha as just something that we might have as a supplement then, a little capsule. So how is it different when it's in this sort of form?
Sure. So essentially the form might be exactly the same. So in a capsule, it might be in a powder extract. And we use high quality powder extracts in our blends.
Mm,
So the first thing is we make it convenient. You don't need to take a pill and
yeah.
you can get it into your day. And the second thing is the synergies with caffeine and adaptogens. So ashwagandha, as you might know, has some incredible adaptogenic properties that can help us in all areas. So there are studies on ashwagandha for its effects on sexual function and libido. So as we're getting closer to Valentine's Day, we're kind of looking into what can help us with libido. And also with caffeine, as we mentioned, caffeine can increase our cortisol, and then ashwagandha can help counteract that. So we're getting two effects. We're getting the ashwagandha in our day and the benefits from the ashwagandha, and also the synergistic benefits with having it with coffee to help
Mm,
balance our cortisol.
yeah, fantastic. So so I'm guessing that I mean, really, what we're saying is this is a healthier alternative to coffee, because it's actually doing you good rather than only giving you that little boost. Because we still do get the boost, right? We still do get that little kick.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. We kind of look at it as like, do you know what? This is a mindful coffee.
Mm,
When we have caffeine and coffee on its own, caffeine's absorbed quickly, so we get a spike and then a crash. And with adaptogens, they help give us sustained energy. So, for example, with cordyceps mushroom in Mojo blend,
cordyceps, is that the phrase?
cordyceps.
Cordyceps mushrooms, yeah.
Cordyceps, yeah. So it's known to increase our aerobic capacity and oxygen flow
Mm.
and also boost ATP, our energy molecule, right? So
So that
when
would
you're
be the
having
one to
it
have
with,
before a workout or something, yeah.
do you know what? It's perfect as a pre-workout.
Mm.
It's great if your body's fatigued and you need an extra boost. So it gives you something more than just the coffee. And you tend not to have like a spike and a crash. You tend to have like balanced, sustained energy. And a lot of our customers, they mentioned to us that before they were having 4 or 5 coffees a day, and now they're just having one or two adaptogenic coffees.
Mm. So that would be, so you mentioned the cordyceps mushrooms. So they're in your blend called Mojo, I think it is, isn't it?
Mojo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect for getting your mojo back. I love it. And then you've
Yeah.
got some other blends which help us with different things, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So Mojo we kind of see as, the pre-workout also has some Siberian ginseng, which is good for blood flow.
Hmm.
And we mention like the specific benefits, like in relation to what we're trying to achieve. So we say like, look, cordyceps is good for a pre-workout or if you're physically fatigued. But there are a wide range of benefits to a lot of adaptogens. So one with cordyceps, which not a lot of people know, is that it can help you reset your body clock from jet lag.
Oh,
Um,
right. That's
and
very
travel
useful.
fatigue. So yeah, so if you're traveling, it's like, listen, let's have some cordies. We call it cordies.
Mm.
So that's Mojo. So if Mojo is about waking your body up, a flow blend is about waking the mind up.
Hmm.
So that has lion's mane, the brain mushroom, and rhodiola, which is great for cognitive and physical performance. Um, so this is great in the morning to help clear brain fog, have a really productive start to the day. And yeah, it's our most popular blend, Flow.
Hmm.
And
Great.
then our third blend is Zen. So this is our most balancing blend, and it has ashwagandha and CBD.
Mm.
So it's like if you need to have a nice and peaceful afternoon, if you're stressed and anxious, it's hard to get into your flow state and be your most productive self. And also it's super popular with those sensitive to caffeine.
Yeah. And so, I mean, how many of these could we typically have in a day? Could we have, two or three? Is that okay?
So everyone is different,
Mm.
right? So I think you're more alluding to like the dosages of the adaptogens,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
your
exactly. Yeah,
RD,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you can have like two, three, four, or even five in a day, and you should be fine. But we say to everyone, we don't want to encourage people to have a lot of coffees and caffeine. Overall, right? We want you to like have stuff mindfully,
Mm.
listen to your internal cues and find what works best for you. So we've got customers that will say, like, do you know what? I have one flow first thing in the morning to help me clear my brain fog, have a productive start. And then in the afternoon, I'll have like a mojo or a zen, depending on how my day's going. Um, so it's not about how much, we can cram into our day. It's about like, do you know what? Find what works best for you.
Mm.
Listen to your internal cues. And because we put two adaptogens with good synergies in every blend, you're having an effective dosage of each adaptogen.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's enough to have an impact on your day to say, like, do you know what? My body was physically fatigued, and now I've got a bit of energy to get on with my day,
Mm.
to find my flow. Yeah.
Great. And these come in sort of sachets, so they're super easy to, great for if you're traveling as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So single serve sachets. So yeah, every single serving is fresh and protected and travel friendly,
Mm.
and perfectly measured to make you a delicious adaptogenic coffee.
Mm. Cool. Tell us a bit more about the medicinal mushrooms. Where would you source them? How do you source them? Because I know you say that your medicinal mushrooms are the highest quality. And I've not even
Um,
thought about medicinal mushrooms since I was a student, probably.
yeah,
And I
well,
wouldn't
not
have a clue where you source them.
not those kind of mushrooms, Janey. You know, it's so what we quickly discovered is when we first came across medicinal mushrooms and adaptogens, the first thing that stood out to us was quality is so important, right?
Yeah.
And by quality, we mean the active compounds inside the mushroom extract. So, for example, lion's mane's culinary, right? You can cook it and eat
Mm,
it,
mm,
but you're not going to get the brain benefits. You might get some of the gut health benefits from lion's mane, but our bodies can't break down the chitin cell wall of mushrooms like we do with plants. So we can eat plants and break them down fully, get all the goodness out of them, but we can't do that with mushrooms. Hence, you need an extract, right?
right.
Now, we use dual extract, so they're hot water and alcohol extracted. I know we're on a sober podcast. There's no alcohol in the end product.
Yes,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. But it's a way of breaking down that cell wall
Mm,
to make the active compounds bioavailable for us.
right.
What we do is we import our adaptogens from all over the world. Like we tested around 20 lion's mane extracts, looking at which ones have like consistent amount of good active compounds. and we actually import them from Canada. The rhodiola is imported from Spain, the ashwagandha from India. So we just try to find the best extracts.
Well, I guess that something like ashwagandha as well, there probably are so many different qualities out there. I guess you've got to be really on it.
Exactly. Do you know what? To be fair, with ashwagandha, it was probably the easiest one to nail.
Was it?
So we found an extract from India. It's in many supplements. It's called KSM 66 for anyone interested. And it's by an Indian company, and they own like the majority of the ashwagandha market, I would assume. They've got multiple studies. Some are done at Harvard University. They're all on their website. So you can look into the different areas that they've got these clinical studies on, and what they found. But they claim to be like the world's highest concentration, most bioavailable ashwagandha extract. So they've been specializing in just that for like 20, 30 years.
Interesting. Is ashwagandha used sort of medicinally then, as far as you're aware? I mean, conventionally.
In what sense do you
mean?
No,
I just wondered. I was just sort of ruminating as to if it has these properties, which clearly it does. I just wondered whether one might find that it's in medicinal, medication, regular medication. I suppose what I'm saying is, has kind of big pharma picked up on the benefits of ashwagandha or not?
I don't know exactly for specifically ashwagandha. I do see some pharma products with adaptogens in them. Usually what they do is they'll isolate the compounds, recreate them in a lab, and say like, this is our patented product that you can't get anywhere else. But really the active compound, because it all comes from plants at the end of the day,
exactly,
right? Like
exactly,
99% of what they do, they just synthetically make it in a lab.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised that there is some kind of products that are like medicinal there. But we work with a lot of nutritionists from all areas, and we hear like ashwagandha is incredible at different areas of your life, especially for women, for the cycle, going through menopause. It's very balancing on hormones.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that. And what is your view? We mentioned CBD. What's your view? Because of course, everyone's hearing about CBD products now, and there's so much out there. It can get actually really confusing. I mean, you can even get alcohol-free drinks with CBD added, and obviously we can buy CBD oils and chewable things. And what's your view with CBD? Potentially where it links to coffee.
So I think the first thing with CBD is, I think there's so many contrasting views because CBD doesn't work for everyone, right? We all have something called an endocannabinoid system inside us, and this is what processes CBD and other cannabinoids. Now, I might take CBD and I might say, do you know what? That stuff really relaxed me. My muscles felt relaxed. I had quite a nice, pleasant afternoon. Now, Shez might take CBD and say, do you know what CBD was? It got rid of all my anxiety. Like, I felt completely calm and peaceful, but no physical effects. And then you might take CBD and be like, well, this is just rubbish. It doesn't do anything. So I think it's different for everyone. And this is why to us, CBD is just another adaptogen, working in a system in the body to help you find balance. And in terms of having it with coffee, it's like, we realized when we were making our blends that we wanted so our story goes back to when we were originally creating it. It was actually for a pre-workout, right? Because we were actually having it ourselves as a pre-workout. Then we met up with a nutritionist who introduced us to all the lovely adaptogens that we use today. And we quickly started using them every single day, depending on what we needed in that day. So not just as a pre-workout, but if there was a day where we needed to find focus and be really productive and wake up the brain, or if there was a day where we're super stressed and anxious and we're like, okay, I can't be my most productive self today. There's just too much going on, right? So we decided to have the 3 blends, depending on what you needed to be your best self and find your flow state. So flow state is where, if you've ever had a morning where it's like you've lost track of time, you've been so engrossed in a task, and it's like you just flowed through it, right?
Mm.
Now, when we were creating our Zen blend, we realized pretty quickly that, you know what, CBD is the best thing that we find personally for stress and anxiety. Hence putting it in with the coffee. And then ashwagandha is also incredible. Now, they're working in 2 different systems in your body. So ashwagandha is working on our adrenals and CBD is working on our endocannabinoid system. So synergistically, they're working on 2 different systems to help us find balance stresses, stress and anxiety. So you can have a coffee, you can feel balanced afterwards. And if you do have stress and anxiety in your day, you can have that kind of calming energy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I gave you a very long answer there.
No, that was great. That's super helpful. Good. So it's just fantastic brand that you've created, London Nootropics. You must be really chuffed that you've got this stuff out there, because it it looks funky. It's great packaging, and it's a great thing that you're doing, because people are being able to feel a bit more balanced and feel a bit better without booze, right? Which is always good.
Exactly. Thanks, Jenny. Do you know what that means? That means a lot. And I know there's like 1 or 2 sober raves, I think they call it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, Morning Gloryville and various others that happen. Yeah, the House of Happiness is another.
And we've given some like samples and stuff, and they said it's gone down really well. So it is another way to kind of give yourself a boost, stay in balance and stuff.
Definitely. Brilliant. And so just remind us where we can get them then, because I know you sell them from your website, but you're also in Harrods, aren't you? That's very cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you for noticing.
How did that come about? You just I bet you guys just went in and said, I think you should stock our cool products. Did it go like that?
Actually, you know what? We haven't been incredible on doing like stuff with retail. Like, we haven't done a lot of outreach at all. We actually had someone from Harrods reach out to us saying,
great.
I came across you guys. We've had a few requests for similar products. And the conversation went from there. And when I went to meet them and train their team and we did some sampling, it was my first time in Harrods.
Was it really?
It's so nice in there.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so obviously we can buy them from londonnootropics.com or in Harrods. And thank you so much, Zain. I really appreciate it. It's great to chat about this stuff. I feel a little bit more clued in now as to which one to choose at which time of the day.
Listen to the internal cues, and even for staying sober and having like there's many adaptogen sober drinks now, right? I like one called Eddy Spirits.
Eddy, yeah. That's got CBD in it, hasn't it?
I think it's got CBD and a few other adaptogens.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. I
remember those guys made me a cocktail, and I had a nice little buzz going on. And I was like, you know what, this is really nice.
There are some fantastic. Some of the brands that have their kind of alcohol-free, in inverted commas, spirits. Have got some really fabulous, unique ingredients, fabulous botanicals, and just different things in there. It's so much more than just let's do a pretend gin kind of thing.
I think
so much more going on, really lovely complex flavors. It's a very exciting kind of market to be part of. It's great.
It's a really, really cool journey.
Cool. So thank you, Zain. Really appreciate it. London Nootropics, and come back on again in a year or something. It'd be amazing to see how the whole thing has grown.
I'd love to.
Take care.
Quite amazing. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Zain, and thank you also for the fabulous competition that London Nootropics have given us to put on our site, so that we have a whole bunch to give away. So, you've got to be in it to win it and all of that. So you'll find that on the Sober Club and also on my main site, imperfectlynatural.com. So have a look at that competition as well. There's a few other competitions there to win alcohol-free drinks. We've still got the competition live from non-toxicated to win a whole bunch of alcohol-free drinks as well. So there's a bunch of great stuff on there. So just a reminder then, please watch my TEDx talk, the new one, Could Curiosity Be Your Superpower? Please give it a like and a little comment if you've got anything nice that you want to say about it. I'd really appreciate that. Obviously, if you are curious about, ditching the booze, if you're curious about self-love, if you're curious about living your best life, then check out the Sober Club. That's what we do. We focus completely on all of that stuff. Somebody asked me recently, well, if I'm already sober, if I've already stopped drinking, why would I want to join the Sober Club? And the answer is because there is so much other stuff there, because it's never about just not drinking, right? Because we just do a ton of other stuff around well-being and finding your purpose, and we become cheerleaders for each other. So we have some amazing guest experts, amazing motivation sessions, a whole library of fantastic stuff in there. We're going to be doing another run of our juice shot challenge as well, if that appeals to you, and also our self-care challenge. In fact, that's coming up in February. So if you wanted to join us ahead of that, then make sure you get in. It's very high value and low cost. So, what's not to like? thesoberclub.com. We're hoping to change the conversation around alcohol. That's what needs to happen. I meant to say, by the way, earlier that this week has been one of those weeks for news items. I don't know if you've happened to have come across them. I won't get into one of my big rants. You'll be pleased to know. But, oh my God, they're... I've just been incredulous this week as to some of the crap that it has come out. There was one piece around how, and I forget where it came out. It was a piece on Sky News, I think, and it was the headline kind of piece was around how a study had proven that whiskey can improve the health of our skin. Really? You have to be kidding me. I mean, that's sobriety 101. Everybody knows that when you stop drinking, your skin improves. Of course it does, right? Of course it does. And they're actually trying to say that whiskey can improve your skin. Oh, please. I mean, seriously, you just absolutely can't make this stuff up, can you? And then there was another piece that somebody posted on the Sober Club, actually, and I haven't had a chance to read it in detail, but it was some piece about how kind of miserable it is when you're trying to date someone who is sober. An article about how awful it is going out with sober men. I mean, come on, really, seriously, get a grip. Why would it matter to you what someone else is putting in their mouth? I mean, seriously, it's just incredible. So anyways, yeah, so I'll get on another rant about some of those next week. I bet you can't wait. Do please get in touch if you would like to share what you're doing. It's so great when you tell someone. I've had a couple of messages this week, just really lovely people saying, you've inspired me. I've done dry January and I'm going to carry on. Yay, fantastic. Or I had a message from someone saying, I've been listening to a whole load of podcasts. I've gone right back into the archives and I think I'm nearly ready, but shall I wait till February? No, just get on with it. Start now. But tell someone. Do tell someone. That doesn't have to be your nearest and dearest. Sometimes it's better to tell someone who has really fully had that lived experience, to quote a Megan phrase. So yeah, feel free to tell me. Just drop me a message and let me know if you're doing this. And of course, it would be lovely if you wanted to join us in the Sober Club. But whatever works for you, get support. Get inspiration. Get connected. Make sure you've got a bunch of people who are cheerleading you on, because that's what makes the difference as you focus on, moving forward, focus on the positivity. And, as the title of the TED Talk says, bring in some curiosity, right? Because curiosity could literally be your superpower. See you next week. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.